Homeland Security, Senator Roger Marshall. Great to have you back on, Senator. So what do you make of this? It would mean Democrats would have to say whether they would vote to protect elections from false votes, illegal alien votes, and or they'd be responsible for a government shutdown. Do you support this?
Absolutely do. I do, Liz. Look, elections integrity is paramount to the survival of a democracy, of a republic like ours. And right now we've seen in Virginia and Texas that thousands of illegal aliens are registered to vote and for all we know have been voting. So what this bill simply states is when you go register to vote, you have to show a birth certificate or else your proof of citizenship. We have to do the same thing when we get a driver's license. I don't think that this is asking too much. If they're not worried about it, then let's pass this law and let the president sign it.
I mean, there are dozens of countries that require voter ID. I mean, early voting starts as soon as September 6th. You're right. You need ID to open a bank account, even adopt a pet, or, rent a whole hotel room or a car.
Yeah, so I think a voter ID when you vote, but some type of a proof of citizenship when you register to vote. I think that our voting polls, the people that are registered to vote, look, I think Texas had over 1 million people they took off their registration there alone. Thousands of those people are illegal aliens. Look, we need election integrity. It's very important to a democracy that every vote is counted equally, that my vote is as important as yours. If we allow illegal aliens to vote, then it dilutes the whole democracy.
Federal Reserve researchers, moving on to this, they've been really trying to dig into how the U.S. jobs data has been kind of distorted by illegal aliens coming into work. But you've also been leading the charge, demanding answers on why the government has been revising down out of 14 of the last 20 months the U.S. jobs numbers, that they've been inflated. They look better than they may be. What are you finding?
Well, look, I think this is another example of election interference, that when we're sitting there as Americans trying to decide, is the economy in good shape or not? Are we better off today than we were 4 years ago? And they didn't miss the mark by just a little bit on this jobs report. They missed it by 30%. So these numbers are way off. And how that impacts a person is we're sitting there waiting for the feds to adjust interest rates one way or the other, and that trickles down to a new homeowner when they're trying to figure out what type of a home they can buy as well. So what we're finding out is that there's a consistent bad numbers coming out of Washington, D.C. This is one more example why Americans don't trust the federal government.
Well, what are senators do? What are you going to do? What are you guys going to do about it?
Well, I think that number one is we need to get the Department of Labor in front of us and say, explain to us why these numbers are so far off. It's just almost statistically impossible to be off by 30%. This hasn't happened in decades. This close to the election, it seems like election interference. So let's get the people responsible in front of us and try to explain these numbers to it and make sure that America sees exactly where this fraud is happening.
Senator Marshall, pleasure to see you. Now to this story.